Hey everybody, happy Thursday, March 7th. It's about 9:30 on the West Coast and time for another market updates. And it is jobs week. And we know that jobs week is very important because the Fed has made it very clear that they're paying really, really close attention to the jobs market. When they cut rates is probably going to depend upon when unemployment starts to go up a little bit. So this week we got February ADP, January JOLTS, some challenger job cuts, which is like corporate layoffs, and then tomorrow's BLS, the very important BLS jobs report. So taking a closer look, ADP came in a little bit below estimates. Estimates were supposed to be about 150,000 jobs created. 140,000 came in. Remember ADP, these are private payrolls. It's not including government employees like the BLS one does, but it seems to be a little bit more rational or, a little more logical compared to, the BLS numbers that have been coming out. It looks like large businesses added about 61, medium 69, small businesses 13K. Leisure and hospitality added quite a bit, 41,000, which is interesting this time of year. Like we talked about before, it looked like that might have been tapped out. And there's a little comment there from the chief economist, Nella Richardson at ADP, said job gains remain solid. Pay gains are trending lower, but are still above inflation. And remember, pay gains, the more people are making, the more inflation tends to go up because people spend more. And the next one we got was JOLTS. So JOLTS is job openings. That was slightly down, a little bit below expectations. Definitely down from when it was above 12 million. So we're down to about 8.863 million. So again, that's and we also know that these numbers tend to be a little overinflated because it's picking up multiple listings on on the different job sites. Sometimes hiring managers are listing it in different states. They're listing the same job under different titles, and this tends to pick all those up. But as job openings come down, that's one of the first signs that maybe the labor market's starting to come down a little bit. And then, like I mentioned, we got Challenger. The Challenger job cuts for January was about 85,000 layoffs, according to corporates. And that was the highest February since 2009, I believe. So again, another sign maybe, the job market starting to slow down. We're definitely seeing a lot of layoffs across the board, and it'd be interesting to see when all that kind of shows up in the BLS report, which tomorrow we're getting the January numbers. Remember, the last one we just got was, February tomorrow. The January BLS jobs report was no good. Did not do well for us. The last 2 years, January, have been really bad for us. Not a big fan of the BLS jobs report. We'll get into it more next week when the numbers come out, but probably be another negative revision like they've been doing. It'll be interesting to see how the numbers come out because there is some data that suggests that maybe it won't be the best number for us tomorrow. So be on guard for that. And then, following up on the job stuff today, we also got initial job claims that came in at 217,000 new claims. It's about 215,000 was the estimate. So a little bit above that. Continuing claims went up to 1.9, above 1.9 million. So again, job market still seems, employers still seem to be holding on to employees. When people get laid off, it seems to be harder to find jobs, which the JOLTS is showing, and, the layoffs from the Challenger report. So again, jobs is really important. The BLS jobs report is really important because Fed's probably not going to cut rates till we start to see some more weakness there. Next thing we got, so speaking of the Fed, Fed Chair Powell spoke yesterday and today to the two different branches of Congress. He has prepared remarks, which are the same for each branch, and then there's Q&A kind of stuff. So, really there was not much said. It was kind of what we expect. Inflation, their hikes are done. They're going to cut at some point this year. They just don't know when. Inflation they need to keep under control, all that kind of stuff. He did acknowledge that, waiting to cut rates too long could have a negative impact on, the economy and jobs. So, that again, focus on jobs right there. So if we see, jobs start to slip, then maybe they'll be forced to cut a little bit sooner. So again, not too much, movement in the market because basically everything he said, we've already heard 50,000 times by now. Miscellaneous stuff. So CoreLogic had a couple different reports that came out this week. One was their home price index, and the next was their Q4 equity report. So I want to take a closer look at that stuff. So their home price index, it actually came in for January. They showed a negative 0.1% after being negative 0.1% in December. So that's appreciation on homes here in America. But as you can see, that's better than it was last year. And then, this time of year, it tends to be a little bit weaker. So again, home prices are still up 5.5% or 5.8% year over year. It actually went up, as far as comparing to last year, since we're doing year over year numbers. So homeowners are still doing good, a little bit of a negative, but if you see that in the news, again, 0.1% is a very little small drop. And then the home equity report. So this basically is for Q4 of 2023. They're showing you how much equity American homeowners have gained. And that was up 8.6%. So $1.3 trillion American homeowners have gained in equity over the last, according to Q4 2023. So that was really interesting. That shows, homeowners going good. Here's a look at, state by state, which is kind of interesting to look at. The orange ones are the ones where they had the most gains. California, 49,000, Washington, 30, Arizona, 24, Florida, 32. Here in Oregon, 11,000 gains. So we're solid. The only negative it looks like is Texas, and a couple of these grays were a little bit weaker, but Texas, the only one that turned negative year over year. And then the other part about that report that was really interesting is they talked about negative equity. Negative equity, I think there's as far as homes with mortgages, there's 1.2 million homes here in the country that have negative equity, basically underwater. Their house is worth less than their loan is. That's about 2.1% of homeowners, with mortgages in the country. Compare that to Q3 of 2009, the highest it's ever been. Again, in the housing crash, that was at 26%. So 2.1%. We're in a lot different place than we were in 2009. So that's really good news for homeowners. This opens up a lot of doors. If the economy does start to slip, people with equity, you have options. You can refi, you can take cash out to pay off bills. There's lots of things you can do. Your house is worth more. You can sell it and, pay off your debts and have money left over, that kind of stuff. So, really good news for Americans, homeowners that, basically equity keeps going up. Their home keeps being worth more. And then the next thing, we got average 30-year conventional is down to 6.95. It started at 7.10 last week. Again, tomorrow's BLS jobs report might change that, but it's nice to see it get down below that 7 number. Not a lot of meaningful gains. We've kind of been treading water here for a few months, so we need job market to weaken, and then we'll see things go down, and then we'll definitely see things go down once they make their first cut. Speaking of that, they're thinking maybe that February meeting, that's not going to happen right now. It looks like about maybe the June meeting the markets are thinking is when the Fed would make their first cut. Important days, we got BLS jobs report tomorrow, we got CPI next week, and then the Fed's a couple weeks from now. So we just like we talked about, we got to keep an eye on the job market. Right now, it's probably a better time to buy right now if you're looking to buy than it will be once rates go down, because we know that's going to increase a huge amount of demand. So just keep all that in mind. And if anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Otherwise, fingers crossed, we get a good jobs number tomorrow, and I'll see you guys next week. Thanks a lot, guys.